How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and today I have the long-awaited review of the Auxiliary Manufacturing Pocket Bowie. I've had this for a while now. These released back in December of last year, and Mike sent one of these along for me to kind of help out with the promotional for the release, but also let me keep it very generously to be able to test it and work with it and carry it to bring you guys a full review. So not only was this knife provided by the manufacturer, but Auxiliary Manufacturing is also the sponsor of my channel. So Mike, as always, thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. I do have a discount code with him. Justified10 will get you 10% off your order on his website. So I'll link to this knife specifically, but to his website, Instagram, and everything down below in the description. So thank you to Mike for sponsoring the channel, and thank you for sending this along. Now, I know some of you, if you are new to the channel, might be thinking, oh man, he's not only reviewing a knife that he was sent for free, but he's reviewing a knife from his channel sponsor. Mike was very cool about pretty much anything I send him. He said, you know, give me your complete honest thoughts, which I've already given him in private. So this will not affect my review at all. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad of this knife. There are a couple critiques that I have, just to be completely honest, but it is a really cool piece. So we'll get into this here. I'll give you specs, I'll give you size comparisons, and then we'll go into my use and my carry and what I think about the design overall. So right off the bat, let me just give you specs here. So let's just do size real quick. So your size here is coming in at your overall blade length right to the end of the handle is just under 3 inches, probably about 2 3/4 of cutting length. Your handle, your overall length on your handle is about 3.5 inches. Your grip area is about 3 1/4. What you have here for the construction is a full tang 3/16 inch thick AEBL blade. Like I said, full tang. And then you have G10 scales. I believe these are micarta pins in there, you can see. So very simple construction. And then it comes with this molded Bolteron sheath that has plenty of attachment points. And I happen to have the aftermarket option of an Offensive Industries deep carry pocket sheath on mine specifically. So those are your specs. Oh, also on the grind here, on the blade, it has this like darker stone wash to it. It's kind of starting to wear off a little bit, as you can see, since I've been using it. It does hide wear pretty well, but it does start to get lighter as you use it. And then you have a flat grind on this with a swedge up top that is not sharpened. That comes up to an apex right there. So let's do some size comparisons really quick. I'll do some fixed blades, some folders, some tools. One thing that really stood out to me as being a good size comparison for this is the Offensive Industries Fenrir M, the mid-size of his Fenrir models. These are very close in overall length. Obviously different ratios on the blade and the handle, but there is the Fenrir M. Let's do some other fixed blades here. Here is a BW Knives Erebus Short. There we go. Overall thickness difference. The Erebus. Here is a Sosby Blades. This is the Chicago Cub, so this is his Cub model, but with a slightly shorter blade. Again, overall size very similar as far as the overall length. Thickness difference. That's the Chicago Cub. Here is the Knives by Nuge Wicket, which you can see is a much smaller fixed blade, but one that I think a lot of people are familiar with these days. So there's the size of the Wicket. And let's do one more fixed blade. Since we're doing Auxiliary Manufacturing, here is his Sume model, which again, a little bit smaller, but I had to throw it in there because it's another Auxiliary Manufacturing one. So that's for the fixed blades, and then let's do some folders here. Some folders that everyone's familiar with. Here's your classic Buck 110, which absolutely dwarfs most things, but definitely dwarfs the Pocket Bowie. In terms of thickness, actually, your scales are pretty similar. Overall thickness difference with the Buck 110. Here is your standard size, full-size trapper. This is a K-bar, but any of your cases or your queen cutlery or anything like that, that is a full-size trapper. There you go. Here is the Spyderco Pair 3. I think everyone's pretty familiar with that. So not a large folding knife, or let's see, like a small to mid-size folding knife, and still smaller than the Pocket Bowie. There's your thickness. This is made by Gonzo, but overall the exact same overall size as a Spyderco Delica. Again, another small to mid-size folding knife. Here is the Kershaw Blur, another classic. Definitely more of your mid to large folding knife or EDC knife. And then a newer classic, as of recently, the CJRB Pyrite. This is the full-size, normal version. They have the smaller one. They have an XL now, but this is the regular size Pyrite. And last but not least, two multi-tools here. Here's the Milwaukee Fastback, the one with the driver. And last but not least, for real this time, here is a Leatherman Wave Plus. I'll show it to you there in the closed position. Thickness there. And then open. Everyone's pretty familiar with what a Leatherman Wave looks like. So that should give you a really good idea of the size of this knife. If you're still confused or anything, you can go read the spec list and everything on his page. We'll pull the sheaths back out here. So let's talk about this here, guys. What I like about this knife a lot. The overall design is just absolutely gorgeous. As soon as he started posting pictures of these, I was like, I need to try one of these out. I'm a big sucker for clip points. I love Bowies. I love neutral handles, especially these coffin shape handles. And this is a really cool kind of modernized version, EDC-able version of your classic coffin handle Bowie. So I'm a huge fan of that. He has a couple varieties of these. He has them in G10. You can get the black, and there's two other color variants of the G10 that's like a layered color. Those start at $235, and then you have a carbon fiber handled one that is $265, and then you have a ray skin with a paracord over wrap, like Japanese style wrap, for $275. Obviously that one's going to be a little bit thinner in the scales just because it's a wrapped instead of G10, but all of your other G10 and carbon fiber should be the exact same thickness. ABL. Let's talk about the steel real quick. So ABL is a very tough stainless steel. I believe it is the equivalent of Sandvik's 13C26, which is kind of like the precursor to your 12C27s, 14C28Ns. ABL is kind of what was the baseline that companies use to kind of model like your 14C28Ns and your Nitro Vs, which are very common now for if you want a very tough steel. That is still going to be not completely, but going to be very stain resistant. So you're going to get good stainlessness on this. You're going to get excellent toughness. It's not going to hold an edge for the longest time, and I'm not exactly sure what actually, no, I do know the HRC. They're running this at 61.5, which is decent. I think ABL can be pushed a little bit higher for more edge retention, but it's 61.5 isn't too bad. So if you're looking for absolute cutting performance in terms of longevity, not having to sharpen very often, ABL is not going to be your thing, but it is going to be very tough, very stainless. And it's going to keep the price down from if you used a higher end steel. So $235 for AEBL is a little bit high, I'd say, all things considered, but Mike's knives are in a lot of demand right now, and I think this design is just absolutely gorgeous. So in terms of the actual cutting performance, like I said, you have a very thick stock here to start out with, 3/16 thick. Usually on my EDC knives, I prefer 1/8 inch or thinner. On folding knives, I usually prefer something thinner, like 3/32 here on this Fenrir M, or 1/8 inch, like on this BW knives Air the Short. So I usually prefer a little bit thinner. 3/16 is pretty thick, especially for something this small. That being said, the grind does come down to a decent enough edge where you still get a okay cutter. This is not going to be a super slicer, so I wouldn't recommend like breaking down tons of cardboard with this or anything, but it does come down to an acute enough tip that you're still going to be able to go and do your draw cuts. You're going to be able to do your kind of trailing cuts with the tip. Push cuts is where this is going to struggle a little bit. I wish the stock was a little bit thinner, but we'll kind of get down to that when I get into some of my nitpicks. The clip point blade, I'm glad that they kept it center line. We'll do a center line test like we usually do, where we kind of line the back of the handle up with a line there. And as you can see, that tip is right in the center line with the handle, which I like. A lot of like these kind of sweeping clip points kind of trail up at the end, and they're not as usable for EDC tests because you kind of have to hold your hands at weird angles to get the tip down. So I'm glad this is a center line tip. The other thing that's good for is if you're going to be using this for any kind of defensive purposes, holding this in a reverse grip, that center line is going to match up with your thrusts, which is nice. In hand, I can get a full four-finger grip on this, like just barely. I wear a medium-sized glove, and this just barely fits all four of my fingers in kind of like a hammer grip. If I'm going to be using this in a saber grip, it's more of like a three-finger grip like that. But this handle is very comfortable in all of your grips because it's so neutral. So hammer, edge in hammer grip, saber grips, kind of your drawn back saber grip, reverse grip edge out. Reverse grip edge in is a little bit sketchy just because, at least for my hand size, if I want to be able to thumb cap this, my hand does ride down a little bit here towards the edge. It's not touching the edge, and in a pinch, I could definitely do reverse grip edge in stuff, but probably reverse grip edge out is better just because you have a place for your hand to rest here. I know he is coming out with some double edge models of this where he grinds the swedge even thinner so it actually comes to an edge. I think that would be kind of optimal for me, carrying this for like a defensive role. Because you're still going to be able to have your thumb have some space down, or the palm of your hand, the heel of your hand here is going to have space to rest, but you're still going to have an edge back here where you can kind of do those ripping motions. What I did mention on AEBL is I know there's a lot of discussion right now in the knife community about using simpler steels that don't hold edges long. One thing that you have to remember is one of the times where it's okay to use steels that don't hold an edge as long is if they're going to be used in a role where they have a lot of impact. So larger bushcraft knives, you're going to be batoning or chopping wood. That's one use case, or a defensive role where you're going to be encountering hard targets. Say you go in and hit a rib or something like that. You need the steel to be tough enough that it's not going to snap. You do have a thin enough tip here that's going to penetrate, but that AEBL should hold up if you do any kind of things where you're encountering bone or anything like that. I did do some tip tests on this, stabbed it into some wood, pried both ways, no problem at all. Other than that, I kind of just carried it for my normal EDC tasks. And like I said, I don't think for me, this is something I'd want to carry as my only EDC knife just because it is so thick. It's not the best cutter in the world. But that being said, if you need something that you can push really hard and you also want to carry it as a defensive role, like a small, compact defensive knife, I think this is going to do just fine for you. I just pair it with something a little bit slicier, like Kershaw Blur or the Pyrite or something like that, where you have a thinner blade stock that can do more of your EDC slicing tasks, and then you have this as your kind of defensive knife, or if you want to kind of do something dumb with it where it's going to need to hold up. So that's kind of where I see that. Talking about actually, before I talk about the sheaths, the handle here, one of my other nitpicks is I wish the handle was just a little bit longer. I know he was trying to keep this in a very compact size that's very pocketable, which it is. When you have the Offensive Industries sheath here, this is very easy to pocket carry. Same with this, even if you wanted to put like an ulti clip on here and carry with more of the handle sticking out, it's short enough that it's not going to be a problem in the pocket. But that being said, I wish there was like a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch more handle here, because that not only would give you a little bit more room kind of on your saber grips to still get like a full 4-finger grip, but especially in your reverse grips, you have a little bit more space to thumb cap. Instead of having to cap like flat across like that, you'd have a little more room to kind of do this. Let me find something like this. So the BW Knives Erebus here. So check out the overall difference in handle length there. So on something like this, I can get a full 4-finger grip even in my saber grips, and in my reverse grip, I can kind of thumb cap it like that. So I do wish this handle was a little bit longer. When I talked to Mike about that, he said that when he was playing around with the design, adding handle length, he had to add too much to still make it ergonomic in the shape. That wouldn't lend itself as well to being pocket carried. So I understand that. And same thing with the thickness. I wish this was probably at least an 1/8 inch thick. I think it would cut a lot better if it was 1/8 inch stock. But there's a lot of guys out there that I'm seeing posting on their stories where they're using this really hard. So, and it seems that the 3/16 blade stock is working well for them. I think your cutting for this is going to be mostly things where you're not like pushing through material. It's going to be kind of like quick cuts, like cutting straps or cutting tape or opening stuff up or digging around with that tip since you have a little bit more strength. That's kind of going to what this is going to be for. But if you're wanting to carry this as your only EDC knife, just be aware that it's not going to be able to do those super slicey kind of like push cuts like you might want some of your EDC knives to do. Sheaths here. The standard sheath that all of them come with is this pancake style Boltaron sheath. The retention, absolutely excellent. There's no rattle, no play. You have a ton of lashing options. I like that he has the 2 rivets here on the point, so if you were going to neck carry this, it'll actually carry flat instead of carrying like this. I tried Discrete Carry Concepts clips on here. They fit. You could do static cord carry. You could put a tech lock on here and carry it horizontally or vertically on your belt outside the waistband. This is a very versatile sheath, and it's not super thick overall. So let's see how wide it is there. So you're starting at 7. So you're about 2.5 inches wide. Nice and slim sheath though. One thing that some people have asked me to do here in terms of size, which I forgot to do at the beginning, was give you an overall size of what was going to be in your pocket. So if I line up the top of the sheath here, down in your pocket, you're going to have about 5.25 inches. Your overall length while it's in the sheath is right at 6.5. So as compared to some other larger pocket fixed blades, this is nice and short. Pretty much any men's pockets, jeans front pockets are going to fit this just fine. One other thing here that I just wanted to point out is the weight, and I purposefully left this out of the specs because I wanted to make a point about this. So without the sheath, this is coming in at 4.5 ounces. With the stock sheath, this is coming in at 5.5. And then with the Offensive Industry sheath, coming in at 6.1. So this is not a light knife. There's definitely some heft to it. It feels heavy in the hand. It's not unwieldy at all. Sorry, I smacked into the camera there. But it's definitely heavier in the hand. So I wanted to compare it to like something that is the same size here. So the Fenrir M from Offensive Industries. This is a Nitro V, 3/32 thick, 2.2 ounces versus 4.5. So pretty much double the weight for the same size knife. Now that could be good or bad depending on who you are. Like I said, if you like a little bit more heft in hand, you like a little bit more weight, you really want a bruiser that you can put this through a car door for some reason, this will be for you. But again, if you want something lightweight and thin and slicey in the pocket, this is not going to be for you. So who is this for? I mean, I kind of just said, but the other thing that I really think that stands out with Mike's knives is the fit and finish is excellent, and the design cues are absolutely just on point. Like all of his knives are so aesthetically pleasing. I don't want to call them art knives because they are still functional, but all of his knives are just very attractive. They look great. So if you're looking for a really stylized piece, something unique, something that doesn't look like just every other knife out there, the Pocket Bowie especially, but really any of Mike's designs, just really, really neat looking. So that's kind of my overall thoughts, guys. I don't have a whole lot more to say about this. Again, kind of my little critiques. I wish the handle was just a skinch longer. I wish they would drop the blade stock thickness down a little bit to have this be a better slicer. And I'm definitely looking forward to trying out one of the double edge versions because I think that would make me carry this more. Because right now, how I'd have this, I would pretty much only carry this as a defensive knife. I wouldn't really carry this as an EDC knife. And I think it would make it even better for that role with that sharpened back swedge so that I can hold it in a reverse grip, still get a comfortable thumb cap, have room for the heel of my hand there, but still be able to do my reverse edge techniques without having to put my thumb down there in the danger zone of that edge. Which, by the way, there is a subtle recurve to that, which does aid in the cutting performance. When you have a little bit thicker geometry, having that recurve, especially on like a clip point like this where the edge trails up a little bit, having that recurve helps keep material in those cuts. So if you're going to be doing a draw cut, that subtle recurve will help. I did sharpen this once, and it wasn't that bad to sharpen at all, so I wouldn't worry about that. But edge came nice and sharp. That's really all I got to say about it, guys. It's a really cool knife. Mike, thank you so much for sending this over. I'm so happy to see the success that you're having with this model. A lot of people have really been enjoying this. His first run sold out pretty quick. I think there are a couple left on the website. Not every variant is still available, but I know he's going to be doing another drop of these soon. So if you're interested in these, definitely go check out Mike's Instagram and his website. I will leave links to all that kind of stuff. Don't forget to use my discount code if you are going to pick something up for yourself. And definitely, I also recommend the Offensive Industries sheaths aftermarket. If you want to pocket carry this, this is going to be the way to do it. So definitely reach out to Josh if you want a pocket sheath. I will link his website as well. So if you guys have any questions about this, you want to share your experience with one of these or your thoughts, please leave them down in the comment section. Check all the links and everything, timestamps, all that good stuff. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.